Hey y'all, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today I have a treat for you. We're going to be doing some baked chicken wings as well as some cabbage, fried plantains, and a African Caribbean fusion dish I came up with, which is a jollof rice combined with a gungo rice and peas. So I'm excited to share this fusion dish with you. Also, please check the description box for a link to my ebook. Please check that out. Thank you so much for your support, and let's go ahead and get cooking. Now first we're going to start with the chicken wings. I'm going to season these with some green seasoning, about 1 tablespoon, as well as about a tablespoon of this It's Incredible seasoning. You could also use another all-purpose seasoning that you have. About a tablespoon of this Amazing Blazing Cajun. Now this is spicy. Y'all, don't even play with this, okay? If you can't take the heat, go for a different low sodium Cajun seasoning. I'm also going to be using some chicken seasoning by Lawry's. I will link that in the description box as well. And I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil, and then I'll use some roasted garlic seasoning with roasted red peppers. And of course, use salt, pepper, and do all of that to taste. Now, if you want to cut these chicken wings to be smaller, you can also do that as well. Now I'm going to let this marinate at room temperature just for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to transfer this to a baking sheet that has already been lined with foil and a baking rack. Foil is a must, okay, because I ain't trying to do all that scrubbing when this meal is through, okay? Now I like to get a little fancy with it when I leave the wing tips on and just fold them over. I feel like it makes it easier to flip, and they just look kind of cool. Now while I've been doing this, I've had the oven preheating at 425 degrees, and I also put a little bit of smoked paprika just for color. I am going to cook these for 30 minutes, and then I am going to go in and baste them with a mixture of butter. Okay, y'all know I like that butter, okay? And a little bit of honey. And then I'm going to flip them and baste the other side. I'll put them back in the oven to bake for 30 more minutes because y'all know I got to have that color on my meat. Okay, I got to have my brown meat, can't no pale meat. All right, and then I'm going to be done. Okay, you let these sit out. After 1 hour of cooking, they are delicious. They are caramelized, a little sweet, a lot of spice. You're going to love this. Now, to get started on the jollof rice and peas fusion dish, I'm going to start off by blending together some ginger, some onion, red bell pepper, lots of onion, okay, might I say, some garlic, a Scotch bonnet, and then I'm going to just pulse this together until it's pretty fine. Now, you could use a regular blender to do this, but if you use a food processor, you aren't going to need to add water or anything to get out all the bits. You can just scrape everything out. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of coconut oil into a heavy bottom skillet, as well as 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, this may seem like a lot of oil, but actually, traditionally in jollof, you could even use up to about a half a cup of oil. So I've actually cut it back significantly. You want to fry this until the oil starts to separate from the tomato paste, because you do not want a sour taste in your jollof. You really have to cook out that tomato paste. I'm going to cook this for about 10 minutes on medium to medium low heat, and I'm going to stir this constantly so that it does not burn. You do not want this to be raw tasting at all. I'm then going to add in about a tablespoon of green seasoning. Now for my spices, I have some curry powder, some complete seasoning, some white pepper. I have some fresh thyme, some allspice, and some bay leaves. Toast that for about a minute, and it's going to be smelling delicious. Now, if you are Ghanaian or West African, or you are from the Caribbean and you like, that ain't how you make this, okay? You ain't making rice and peas. You ain't making jollof. All I'm going to say is you're right, okay? This is a fusion dish, so I don't want to hear none of that. Okay, talking about this ain't traditional. I know it's not traditional, okay? I done said it, all right? You come in with that energy, you can get blocked. Okay, not really, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. I'm then going to add in 1 can of coconut milk, and I'm going to allow this to simmer for about 7 minutes on low. I'm then going to go in and I'm going to mix this. Now you will see that oil will start to come to the top of your stew. This is actually important. It will let you know that your stew is done or almost done. Now, since I've used less oil than you typically would use in a stew like this, I am actually going to let it cook a little bit longer. So I'm going to go in and add some salt, a little bit of this garlic, ginger, and a scallion seasoning, and then I'm going to cover it. I'm going to let it simmer in total for about 15 more minutes because I really don't want a raw taste from the onion and the ginger and the garlic and the peppers. That would be very bad, okay? So after about 15 more minutes of cooking, I went in with 1 carrot that I cut up, as well as 1 packet of coconut milk powder. Now, to me, the coconut milk powder is a must because it's going to make it very creamy and give a little bit of sweetness to this. I know we added the coconut milk, but this is also essential. I'm putting in half of a cup of the liquid from the pigeon peas, and I'm going to mix this in, and then I'm going to add the pigeon peas, and I'm just going to let this simmer for about 2 minutes so the flavor, okay, the flavor can get all up in the pigeon peas. This is commonly found in the Hispanic section of Walmart. I had a couple people say they didn't know where to get this, and that is where you would find this, okay? So let this simmer for about 3 minutes, and then you're going to add 2 cups of washed basmati rice. You could also use parboiled rice. I don't prefer to use jasmine rice in my jollof. It's a little bit too sticky for me. I'm then going to mix everything together. I'm going to add a little bit of green onion, and then I'm going to put this in the oven to bake at 350 degrees for 20 minutes, totally undisturbed. Then I will open it. I will go in and I will fluff it, and I will check the moisture level. If it is extremely dry, I might add about a tablespoon or 2 of liquid, but don't get too carried away with this because you do not want your jollof rice to be mushy, and you don't need a ton of water to cook rice. Rice really steams. It doesn't really boil. So that's why I'm adding so little liquid, and I'm still going to get mine to fully cook because there's also liquid being added from the vegetables, the carrot, and the pigeon peas, okay? After 20 more minutes of baking, I opened it and I checked it, and mine was tender. I didn't need any extra moisture, any extra liquid, or anything like that. If yours is hard, you could add a little bit more liquid and cook it for about 10 more minutes. You just want to watch it at this point because it'll be a little bit dry. I'm going to take it out, and then I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes before I go in and fluff. I'm going to let it sit covered, and y'all, this was good. And let me tell you, if it wasn't good, my African husband would have told me, okay? But he ate all of this. I ate 1 serving, and then he ate the rest, and he told me it was delicious. Okay, so to go with this, I'm going to add some vegetables. So I'm going to saute some green seasoning, some thyme, and some garlic, and a little bit of butter and avocado oil. Then I'm going to add half of an onion that I've sliced. I'm going to saute that for about 1 minute with a pinch of salt. Then I'm going in with about half of a cut up cabbage. I was lucky enough to find some organic cabbage grown by some local black farmers in my area. So I was really happy about that, especially considering that it's getting warm. But this was a really sweet cabbage. It was really nice. And I'm going to just salt and pepper this to taste. I'm going to steam this for, in total, I cooked mine for about 15 minutes. Now, I'm going to also add some vegetable seasoning as well as a little bit of vegeta just to my taste. My cabbage was a little bit tough, so it took about 15 minutes. But if you have some very tender cabbage, it may only take about 10 minutes total. I like to cook mine where there's a little bit of crunch, but it's not tough, okay? And of course, add water as needed so that yours does not burn. Now, to me, this meal would not be, served up correctly if I did not fry some plantains. So I'm just going to cook this until it browns in some oil. Now, I have really enjoyed cooking recipes from the African diaspora, whether that be from the Caribbean, soul food, fusion dishes from Africa. I love all types of black food. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy these types of recipes. I'd love to share them with you. You guys might not know this, but I did live in Ghana for a little bit over a year, so I do have some recipes. I hope you guys have enjoyed this cooking tutorial. Know that I love you and Jesus loves you. God bless all of you all, and I know I'm going to see you next time in Kamira's Kitchen. Goodbye.